What's up, Dan? I don't know if I can hear you or not. Let me see. Go.
Yes.
Let's try it again. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. All right. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Perfect. Good morning. How are you, Dan?
I'm okay.
Good. Oh, we got T-Bone coming in. Let's bring him in. What's up, Tyler?
Good morning. How are we today?
I am Marvel. I am on my way for this car.
What's that?
I've already driven 10,000 miles. I said I'm on my way to get my first oil change, which means I've already driven 10,000 miles.
Nice.
That's the life of a road warrior, as it said. So, yeah, we have Dan the Man on this morning, and I put an open invite for the squad. So I'm going to put a personal challenge out there that only one of y'all showed up, which is not the kind of numbers we're looking for. It's only 7 a.m. here. Was it 9 a.m. where you are, Tyler? Come on. Come on now. Who can't be up grinding by now? Anyways, so Dan, what we're going to do is Tyler and I are going to open this up, and you're going to ask Tyler and I any kind of questions that you would ask and kind of in a position that you are as someone who's new. What do you think? What kind of questions would you want to ask? And I think Tyler and I will come up with some questions with what you should ask if you're new. So let's hear what you got.
Okay, I wasn't. Okay,
right.
I wasn't ready for that.
That's all right. Fire ready, aim.
Yeah. So, I guess one of the questions that I have is because of the fact that I believe that the hospital indemnity and/or critical illness policy has got to be an integral part of doing any Medicare Advantage plan. I am not completely clear on exactly how you construct the hospital indemnity and/or critical illness to match the holes in the Medicare Advantage policy.
Well, you're not trying to match the holes. You're trying to fill and then some the holes.
Right.
That's the mistake I made my first year was first year I did hospital indemnity, I should say, was I was pairing what I was trying to do is find out, okay, what Medicare Advantage plan do they have? Okay, what's the benefit for the hospital? What's the benefit for emergency room, blank, 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 and try to match the benefits up to that. The problem with that is the benefits fluctuate over time. So that's the first problem with that. The second problem is when someone goes into one of those 5 categories, hospitalization, having a surgery, needing skilled nursing, going to the emergency room, or riding in the ambulance, usually it's not because of a stubbed toe. And so typically it's some kind of, if at minimum, a life roadblock, bump, whatever, or it could be a life-altering event. And so I like to construct the hospital indemnity and cancer to have a buffer for the what if. What if you get cancer? What if you have a heart attack? What if you go to the hospital? What if you have a surgery? And kind of playing through it, kind of what you need to do is kind of run through your mind what would happen for a client if that were to happen. So let's use a knee replacement as an example. So a knee replacement would typically involve the copay to go to the hospital itself. So you have the hospital copay for the surgery itself or the surgery center. and that's going to range usually on most plans, between 100 and something to 300 and something. And we have to be very vague on these kind of things because it's a public forum. But you take that number and you have that cost, and that'll typically include the cost of the surgery, cost of the hospital facility, all that combined into one cost. Okay, so that should be their out-the-door price, typically on their side for the actual procedure. But then there's usually back-end stuff. There's usually physical therapy. There's usually follow-up visits, and so having a buffer, as an example, on the surgery benefit, I like to set it at 500 or higher. And I have the conversation. You tell them that story of how it works out. And on the back end, if you're on a plan, it depends on what the copay for physical therapy is, but if you're going 2 or 3 times a week, that can put a burr in the side of someone's budget. And so that's really the idea of using hospital indemnity and critical illness, whether it's cancer or whatever, to layer like an onion, layers of protection, like a bulletproof vest, so to speak, or an umbrella with different layers, to protect the client from whatever they consider an intolerable amount of financial exposure. Because some people are okay with the copays on the Advantage plan, and some people are better off, like my mom. She's not okay with the copays on the Advantage plan by itself, and so she carries hospital indemnity with it. And by doing so, she sleeps better at night, having a fixed cost per month that she pays, that if something happens, then she has a lump sum check coming back to her that absorbs the cost of the medical side, but also gives her a buffer in case she has some prescriptions or x-rays or MRIs or other stuff that she has that would have additional copays. So with the surgery, with the hospital, I usually try to set it above. And so for most areas, I'm setting my hospital indemnity at $350 per day. And I usually go to days 1 to 15.
Okay, that's something else I wanted to ask you. If they're only going to get hit for, say, 5 to 7 days, or charged for 5 to 7 days, the first 5 to 7, and you set it at 15, and they stay in for 15, do they get paid that $350 for 15?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and the premise is, if they're in there 15 days, something big happened. And so giving them that buffer of a couple $1,000 on the back end really, really makes a big difference of giving them the ability to get better without having to worry, because some people leave skilled nursing early because they can't afford to pay the copay on day 21.
Right.
And so having just that buffer alone, covering that $200 a day there, whether on Medicare or whatever, hospital indemnity has a place, and it needs to be presented at the same frequency, not importance, but frequency, as you do. If you talk to somebody about staying on original Medicare and you don't talk about Medicare supplement, like how often does that happen?
Never.
It should happen never. And so it's the same thing. You should always present and talk about and educate about hospital indemnity and the gaps of cancer. So whether someone does Medicare supplement or Advantage, there is a massive gap for cancer, especially on the prescription drug side. If somebody ends up on a pill form of chemo, or most typical cancer treatments in a pill form, those are oftentimes, in my experience, tier 4 or 5, almost always tier 5. And then you're dealing with a co-insurance of a drug that may be $3, $4, $5 or more $1,000 a month, and having a buffer from cancer policy to cover those costs, because with drug costs, there's no cap. You at current state, there's no cap.
Right.
Down the road, we might see something happen, but we got to wait to see that happen. In my career, I've learned to wait until you see it happen.
So even with original Medicare and a supplement and a drug plan, if you have a cancer policy, then you have a buffer.
Well, yes, and especially on the drug side. So if you start to compare drug plans just on like deductible, just take that one component, look at the Advantage plans, how many plans have a deductible, and look for the drugs, and then look at the prescription plans on a standalone basis and how many of those have a deductible. Pretty much all the lower tier premium plans have a significant deductibles. And so in addition to the deductible, on tier 5, you're dealing with a co-insurance, not a copay. And with co-insurance, you lose that predictability of the copay and the fixed cost. And so, with critical illness, typically You could either do a cancer only or a cancer, heart attack, stroke. Either one of those would play it for most people to look at. I typically do a cancer only, and you want to look in the range of 10, 15, maybe 20,000 on the face amount. That's probably sufficient.
So basically, if they get cancer, they get a check.
Yes, well, and if you do GTL's Precision Care, also has a component called T-gen therapy, where they pay for
genome sequencing.
They do a DNA test on the tumor or cancer, and then they replicate that tumor or cancer in petri dishes hundreds of times, and then they test out all the different forms of chemo and radiation to see which type of chemo or radiation will kill it fastest and most efficiently. Because the game of chemo or radiation is you got to outlive the cancer, because both of you are going to get killed and poisoned. I would present it every time, except for somebody that has Medicaid, where the budget and the coverage don't really see a gap. Right. So outside of that, pretty much everybody should be informed about it. That way, you can check it off the base that you did your best to inform them and give them an opportunity to protect themselves. Because if you don't, here's a big reason why insurance brokers and agents should, not just kind of talk about other products, but it's like you really should. Like I was telling my clients at my client appreciation yesterday, if Mrs. Jones passes away and Mr. Jones wants to, technically, if I hadn't talked to Mr. and Mrs. Jones about the importance of life insurance and given them information and all that, they could sue me because I was in a position to protect them and I didn't. And so you're under some legal and moral duty not to try to sell people stuff. This is not about pushing. This is about making sure people are covering holes. Because frankly, life insurance is one of the only insurances you can buy with the certainty that's gonna cash in unless you buy term.
Right.
But if you buy permanent insurance for life insurance, in fact, that's how the Rockefellers have had generational increase, like massive wealth, is whenever the second someone's born, like first they get their birth certificate, social security number, the second thing they get as soon as it's available is a whole life policy for millions of dollars. And then at the end of their life, millions of dollars goes back into the estate trust. And so life insurance is a way for those of you, because I used to be, when I was in my early 20s, I was very arrogant and against life insurance, but it's one of the easiest ways for someone to change the trajectory of their family's wealth. Buy life insurance young enough to be a investment vehicle, but you can also convert it to a general wealth you can use for a lot of different things. But anyways, let's ask Tyler a question, because I've been talking for too much.
Tyler, you asked me a question.
Ask you a question. I don't know. I'll go off of the topic that you were just talking about. So you're talking about you show someone an MA plan and then you're filling in the holes on there. What other questions are you asking along with anybody that's going with a Medicare supplement with a standalone drug card?
Okay, well, based on what Joshua just said, I guess I need to ask the question, or at least mention the fact that you have a high incidence, just being a human being, of contracting some type of cancer, and whether or not somebody wants to, for a relatively small amount of money on a monthly basis, plug the hole for the costs of affording medications to fight cancer if they get it. I mean, even on the supplement side.
Absolutely, with the prescriptions. One of the things that I always bring up as well is with the GTL policies, they have the precision care, like Josh was mentioning.
Yep.
I have set up multiple of those plans for people on med subs. It's not because they're going to have a huge out of pocket, but that $5,000 is going to help with the drug cost and, the extra out of pockets, non-medical expenses, if they decide they want to travel somewhere to get that done, taken care of. But having that peace of mind to know that whatever treatment they're going to get for that is going to be the optimal treatment for their specific DNA and that cancer, to make sure that they have the optimal choice for recovery. So that should those should be definitely getting added in.
And what amount of cancer coverage you usually do
for a med sup or
for either?
On the med sub side, I'll generally show them the 2,500, 5,000, and 10,000 premium and let them decide. Unless they're someone who's at super high risk for cancer, in which case I'll tell them there's additional options for more. With the med sup, we're not really trying to cover the extra expenses with that T-gen.
Right.
And the pricing on that one for just the cash value base is not the optimal plan to go with for that. There's other riders and different plans and policies and companies that if someone wants a big $50,000 or $100,000 check if they get diagnosed with cancer, that's going to be more affordable than the GTL precision care plan would be in most cases.
Yeah, Heartland doesn't have a cancer rider in Colorado.
No, Colorado's terrible for this. As I know, as much as Josh likes doing Heartland and everything there, if I go out to just about any other state, I'm going to pick GTL over Heartland most every time because they have what's called the Advantage Plus Elite.
Right.
And Colorado hasn't approved it yet. So like you get into Wyoming and stuff, you can directly cover, and I won't do the admission or surgery riders because they have riders specifically in there for rehab and some of the other items that go along with it to build those into cover with it.
Right.
That's why GTL. What's that?
And then, like in New York, you have no options. So it really is.
Yeah, in New York, you're SOL.
What's going on? Yeah, for sure.
So it depends on where you're going and what you're doing. If you're staying specifically in Colorado, until something changes there with the plans, the Heartland's got a better structure to fluctuate the fit. GTL's only has the rider for the admission and the surgery, and quite frankly, they're priced out of range to being viable.
Okay.
And there's a gap on skilled nursing with GTL in Colorado as well. So
yeah,
and that's really important. There is no right or wrong. You can also make Medico's hospital indemnity your favorite. You could make Aetna's hospital indemnity your favorite. The point is that the coverage works the same no matter who they get it from. Just find one that you're comfortable with on how the process works, the pricing structure. Ideally, you want to try to talk to some other brokers who maybe have some experience on claims history, because all those things come into play to help. It's the same thing whether you're helping someone choose Medicare or dental or whatever. You got to make sure you're helping them evaluate all of the positives and negatives so that they make their informed decision.
Right.
And your recommendation should be in some level, shape, or form based on some level of empathy for whatever their situation is, what their prescriptions are, what doctors they see, what habits they have, what budgets they have. All those different things go into a decision-making process, personality type, all those things, right? And so it's our job as professionals to be a steward for the client and make sure that the coverages that they get are of a formed basis that gives them an opportunity to protect themselves as much or as little as they want.
Right.
So as an example, I don't know how much you're aware of it. So my dad just ended up with a tumor, had to have brain surgery to have it removed, and now found out it's small cell lung cancer. So we're going in for a treatment evaluation and get his plan set up later this week. With all that going on, he's going to be doing radiation, gamma knife, something like that for the brain tumors to get rid of that. And then they're going to start chemo to start working on the rest of it. My stepmom is starting Medicare next month. So when I sat down with her to go over and do her review, if you're in that position, where do you go with that coverage?
Definitely a big point of pain there, isn't there?
Right.
So I've already set her up and I got her enrolled. What do you think she's enrolled in?
Original Medicare and a supplement or no?
Nope. Because I never want to project my personal feelings and emotions on it. to where I'm going to influence them. I'm still going to go through my due diligence. She's actually on an exceptionally high out-of-pocket cost-sharing advantage plan.
Okay.
Where she's at in PA, it happens to be that she can get the advantage plan. Humana's got an awesome option out there that's got a huge Part B give back over $100. She just retired from an electronic communications company, and she's a yoga instructor and a nutritionist. She's a licensed nutritionist and all these other things. For her to do anything other than some type of organic naturopath treatments, it's got to be something major going on that she would have to go through to get that. So when I sat down and showed her the options, we can do the gap, we can do an advantage plan, we can do the advantage plus whatever. She looked at it from that perspective and went through it. Not only is she not going to spend the $200 on the gap, she's going to save $100 a month on the stuff. There's $3,600 there. She's getting $2,000 worth of dental coverage out of it. So she's going to have $5,000 that she's not paying out of pocket guaranteed. So even if things go completely sideways and she ends up going out of pocket $7,500, it's really only costing her $2,500 more than what it would have on a gap plan.
Is she going with a PPO?
Yep. Yeah, where they're at and where we're located, it's so rural to do anything other than a PPO. It would be very limiting for most people in those situations.
And where are you located again?
Western New York, middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like an hour south of Buffalo.
That is the middle of nowhere.
So I love it.
Even Buffalo's the middle of nowhere.
Middle of a bunch of snowstorms in the winter.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of the things that I learned really early on that I felt very important is not inflecting my own opinions of a situation or making assumptions of someone to push on them what I want, because I feel like I get a lot of pushback when I do that. So I just evaluate the situation as independently and unemotional as I can. And even in a situation like this is my dad going through all of this.
Right.
So still sitting down with her and going through, here is your options. If I don't tell you what they are, then I'm not doing my due diligence.
What kind of coverage does your dad have?
He has a gap plan.
Okay.
And very fortunately so with this, but the whole reason we did that is he's a carpenter. So we were planning on, he's had 2 spinal ablations done already. He's got to have his hips done, his knee done, his shoulder done, an elbow. He's got something going on with one of his thumbs. We are anticipating like a dozen surgeries over the next 2 years. So that's why we went with the gap plan to start out the date, just to make it easy so that he could get into whatever facility he needed to get into up in the area. And if he needed to go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh or fly out to Denver, he could. So we went that route for that reason, and very fortunately did so because of what ended up happening out of nowhere. So, and that's what I always tell somebody is, if my crystal ball worked, I'd tell you exactly what you need to do, but it's out of batteries right now. So
right, I got you. So is there actually a Sally on this
what other questions?
call?
Sally's
yeah,
here. I don't
Sally's
know if
going.
she's here. I'm not sure. She's definitely in the room, so to speak, but in the dark.
Yeah. I'm here, and I'm sorry. I need to have my camera on before I come into it for it to show. So maybe I can make it come on. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you great.
I have an example really, because I had to be in the hospital the end of January, early February, earlier in the year. A weird thing, working a lot and getting a sinus infection, not eating. I don't know, somehow I had a sodium deficiency. My mineral balance was off, and I ended up in ICU for several days, and pretty scary thing. But I made money on it. I just thought I should probably share that. I ended up making money on it because we're on an Advantage plan, and I have my copay covered with a hospital plan that we've had for a long time. And so my hospital plan paid me the $2,000, and then I have a health savings card, and where we put money in for savings. It's kind of like an HSA, but seniors can have it too. And you put money in, you set what savings level you want, and the funder matches it, so it matches your savings. So essentially, when I use it, I'm paying half price for things. So I went in to pay the $2,000 hospital bill, and by this time I already had $2,000 in my bank account from my hospital plan, but I used the Visa card to pay it out of the savings account. So I paid with the savings account the 2,000, of which I just put 1,000 in over the months that we've had it. So I ended up with an extra 1,000 because of having both things, which worked also as kind of a disability plan for me, which we can't get at our age. But I wasn't able to work for a while. In fact, I wasn't able to do much for longer than I expected to recover from that weird thing. It took me down, took me right out of nowhere. So any of us can be hit with things. I wanted to just remind everybody of that. But I think in working with our clients, it's working with them to show them ways they can position themselves without being insurance poor, but to position ourselves for the what ifs that come out of nowhere, and make sure that we're not having to worry about the money to cover it while we're going through the worry of healing.
Absolutely. I don't know if we actually lost Josh or if he's just paused at the moment while he's going through Wiggins or whatever it is.
Oh no, we lost him.
Joys of the Eastern Plains.
Twirling.
Uh-oh. Came back, but then we lost him again. All right. Yeah, no, that brings up, a really good point too. So, a lot of people who are quote unquote seniors, people over 65 who are on Medicare, going on Medicare, a lot of them are still working. So that's one of the other things to be cognitive of, right? Because if we run into people, more and more it's common to have people working later into life. And so when you're running into those individuals, a lot of times those ancillary plans, looking at them to be able to fill some of those gaps on there. If they don't have it, Dan, do you happen to have some type of disability plan in place?
No.
You're self-employed and you don't give yourself a disability plan?
Not yet.
Right. So, I mean, and that's harder and harder to come by, especially, because a lot of times when you're looking at that, you're not only are you looking at individuals who have themselves, but their spouses are on there as well. I'm working until I'm 65, but my wife is covered underneath the plan, and doing that constant evaluation is something that's vital to be able to offer them if that were to come through, right? Because I'm guessing that, like my father, now he's gone. Like my father.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, there he is. Maybe.
All right, let's try that.
Kind of hear you. No, sorta, maybe. Hey, there he is.
Or not.
Oh, we got video, no audio. All right. I mean, it's like my dad, right? What was his plan? Work until he drops dead. I mean, I have no idea what the case was, but I mean, that's pretty much how he rolls. So he's going to keep pushing and working. Okay, well, now he can't push and work, but he's not dropping dead either. So being able to have those ancillary benefits and things in there to help cover those types of things are going to be important. Stuart's with us now.
Hey, sorry. I just saw your email. I was on my elliptical. So,
I was gonna say, it looks like you just got out of the gym.
yeah, well, I'm still here.
Oh, still in the gym. All right.
Yeah.
So Josh is
YMCA.
having technical difficulties in the Middle East of Colorado. So hopefully he'll be back. Just kind of
Cool.
going over options. We've been talking a little bit about hospital indemnity and stuff. That's what Dan had asked about. But, you know, as a newer agent, what questions do you have? What would you want to ask? Just to get yourself clarity on anything that you're not sure about. What do you think you should be asking about?
Oh, at this point, what's top of mind for me is just kind of role playing, being in front of somebody and using the technology. I mean, I'm fine. I can walk up to people and talk to them and be in front of people, but I just haven't got the reps for.
All right. Stuart's trying to have that. So it sounded like he was saying that he hasn't had the time to get the reps.
Reps on Sunfire, yeah. Well, you know how you get reps, right, Tyler?
You go sit in a dark corner and do nothing.
I think you just work leads and then you know, you run quotes. The system's designed to be user friendly, and compared to what we had to deal with back in the day with just Medicare.gov, it's pretty awesome actually. But yeah, what I would do is the best way with it. Just click on stuff. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, there's a sandbox mode for Sunfire.
There is?
There might be.
Yeah, if I could. Well, and I'm also waiting for my version of Sunfire from Robbie Brock. Because I have some version that's not from their office, and it hasn't been updated.
And that's one of the things that you got to be cognitive of as well when you're going through it. One of the biggest challenges that I've had with Sunfire my whole existence, I don't use Sunfire personally. I don't use the CRM to do the enrollments. I go direct to the carrier site personally.
Okay.
But that's because I've had continual contracting errors and, I can't do this one in here. I can't do that one in there. It's a great backup, and it's still important to know how it is because there was a time in AEP where I couldn't write NetNav that I needed to be able to write because they had just rolled out Think Agent and it wasn't working properly. They didn't have the bugs worked out of it. And I had to go into Sunfire to be able to do that and get the app to go through and write the app in. So it's great to have in your back pocket, regardless of how you're doing it. But when things are broken down a different way, it's important to know where those other options are. I mean,
right.
I can't tell you how funny it was to watch Joshua sit there and laugh and be like, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. I put in 12 United apps today, and everyone's complaining because the United site's down because it was the 15th and they got overloaded and they didn't have the bandwidth or the capacity to process all the applications, and their site ended up blowing up. And he's sitting there laughing because, I already turned in 12 apps with them today, like along with however many other carriers.
And he did it on Sunfire?
Was it? It might have been through Sunfire. I don't know if it was through Sunfire or I think that's what we had at the time. We had another program that we were using previously that was very similar, but I think it might have been Sunfire. Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Sunfire.
So, and my problem with the Sunfire is doing the applications in there. If I go in and I log in one way, I've got half of my carriers. If I log into another one, I've got the other half or 40%, and then I got to go to a third one to get the other 20% to be able to write them and put them through. Just because,
I mean, it's not really much different than having to go to the carrier sites, but the interface is easier. The submission for like a text app is easier. Definitely much easier. Like me trying to talk someone into doing a DocuSign with United Healthcare sometimes feels like me trying to guide someone through heart surgery CAT over the phone versus a
versus a simple text message that they can get, I'm guessing is what that was going to go through.
Anyway, sorry, I got distracted.
So, guiding through open heart surgery on a cat versus
for doing surgery on a cat over the phone and guiding someone through that process versus just here, click the button, which is really what it is. So with the Sunfire system, the text message signature is they click on a link that they get a text message from. It takes them to a website. They enter a personal code that you give them. They put their first and last name in at the bottom. They check a box saying they've read the terms and conditions after they review the information, verify stuff for you, and then you're done.
Do you text them the code?
the system does.
No.
Oh,
You
okay.
have them on the System
Oh,
does not
the
text them
code?
the code. Have them on
No, you don't. You
speakerphone.
text them the link. The system sends the link.
System texts a link. They click the link, and then the code gets sent.
You send the code, or
No, you'll read it off to them. It's in your CRM,
okay.
and you generate the personal code for them.
Yeah, I'm going to the Humana rollout this morning.
Woot woot. Are they just now doing the rollouts there?
They're doing the rollout this morning.
They've been doing them.
Oh, okay.
They're on tour.
Yep. Today is Denver.
Like, good grief. They did ours like 3 weeks ago.
Well, that's what comes from living in the real world.
Well, everything goes East Coast to West Coast. You should know that.
Right?
Except for production. That starts out here on the west side. All right.
All right. So, Stuart, going back to you now that you're kind of plugged back in, it seems like you're a little bit more on point.
Okay.
You were talking about getting the reps in.
Okay. I was just going to ask where did I drop? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am. It's like trying to envision myself standing in front of somebody at a, kitchen table or, on the phone with them, navigating the screens and keeping them engaged. So, it's just I haven't done the reps, and it's the uncertainty of knowing that. And, as I mentioned, the technology, I'm playing around on the systems every time I get certified. I go into the respective, carrier sites, and I just put in my stuff, because
It's
I'm turning
it's
65,
That's all the more reason for you to use Sunfire.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And
One
I'm,
central platform to learn, one central system. Everything's in one
yeah,
place. You can literally click a button and download the summary of benefits while in the middle of a quote or an
right.
application. You can't do that with a carrier site. You can't download
Yeah.
the summary of benefits mid-application with Humana. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things about having a central tool that
Yeah, I agree.
simplifies
I
your
was
life. But you
just
want
at
to
the
learn.
carrier. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I was in the carrier site, just checking, making sure my certification was posted on my dashboard. And I go, well, while I'm here, I'm going to look at the products and see,
Yeah.
how it all works. So I assume the interface and the look is the same on Sunfire as it is on the carrier sites. But
Well,
maybe not.
no. It's
Okay.
in some ways designed to be simplified, where you're looking at all carriers at once.
Right. So.
But yeah, it's but my best advice to you, Stuart, is to just keep clicking on stuff, especially on websites. The worst thing you do is go back to the page you were on before by hitting back or whatever.
Yeah.
But clicking around and finding stuff, and don't be afraid, especially in the first year, to tell people it's your first year and you transition from financial planning and this and that, and
Yeah.
it's new worlds for you. But you're gonna do a good job. It'll just take you longer. That's all. And
Yeah.
and asking for that little bit of leash and rope to slower because you're new. It doesn't mean you don't know what you're doing. It just means you're not going to be as fast. That's all. And I think if you keep that mindset about you, it'll help you with not having so much pressure on needing to know. Because in essence, what you're asking is, I don't know how to run a complex 3-4 defense in football, and you haven't gone to your first practice yet. And then
Right.
the practice is going to be your first client, which should be you if you're aging in. And
Yeah.
And any family or friends that'll let you, like, you call Jan and call Ron and say, okay, I'm not going to actually do it, but can I practice on you and get their information, run quotes, and go through the system. And it's not terribly difficult if you follow the fact finder. So if you get the fact finder filled out and then you take the fact finder to the website, you plug in the medications, you plug in the doctors, and those are the two main filters that the customer is concerned about, is making sure that their doctors are covered and their meds are covered, which makes it one of our top priorities because it's one of their top priorities. And then you just pivot from there to something else, where now I'm looking at, okay, I see that these three companies have all the doctors and all the drugs covered. Okay, so who has the better copays? And so then you can start to click on, there's a box at the bottom of each plan that says compare. And then you can check them all and compare them all. And then you have them side by side and you go line by line. And sitting with the client, it's no different. You just have them side by side. It looks like you know what you're talking about because you're just going through line by line. It's like, see, this one has a higher out of pocket than that one does. It's not like don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah, Sunfire is actually pretty simple. I was amazed.
Yeah, I'm going to go in today and spend a little more time in the sandbox, playing around with it. But what do you do? Is it a live? I mean, when you're sitting with somebody, you obviously don't have your own Wi-Fi. I mean, do you all have your own hotspots?
Your phone
use your phone.
You have an iPhone, it doubles as a hotspot.
Yeah.
Unless you're on Cricket Wireless or something, which I doubt.
Which I am. But they've added hotspot. They have added hotspot. And
well then add a hotspot, and then you have a hotspot with you wherever you go.
Yeah. And don't be afraid. If you're in the middle of nowhere, don't be afraid to ask if they have Wi-Fi.
Their Wi-Fi. Yeah.
I've ran into that, like going up into the canyons in Boulder and through the mountains and stuff. It's like, yeah, right. You're not getting a cell signal. Like satellite radio doesn't even work here.
Right.
You know, so you've got to have some type of land, you know, whether it's fiber, cable, old school dial-up, they've got to have some type of Wi-Fi service up there to have any type of signal.
So if you're working with a potential client and you've got everything plugged in, but there's kind of an uncertain area about a medication or a doctor or whatever, I mean, it suspends itself in Sunflower and you come back to it, right? I mean, up
at the top, you just click on their name and have it save in there as a new quote, and or they're under review, whatever.
Yeah.
The new version actually only saves it if you submit something.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Why?
But yeah, that part's a pain.
So what happens if something is wrong from your interview or something and you've submitted it?
Give me an example of what that would be. I don't run into those problems. I don't leave the home without it. The app, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but are you doing
Find a
the
way.
fact finding at the app? Are you doing the fact finding at the appointment?
I don't know if he heard.
You gotta tell Stuart that was a question for him.
Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, there may be something where the client, well, I saw this specialist. I need to go to them. I can't remember their name. You know, I don't know.
Well, so when you're going through your fact finding, I mean, unless someone had something, I just think I had a mini stroke. Turns out I had brain tumor, and now I'm going through chemo. Like, I mean, something like that. Like if I was in the middle of like, oh yeah, okay, Roger, I'm gonna come over and we'll get this all taken care of for you, and then I go to show up and all the crap happened with my dad, right? Like you can't expect that. But
Yeah.
aside from something catastrophic like that happening, hey Stuart, all right, so just to make sure, are there any other specialists or anything? Do you have any pending procedures, anything else that you're looking at?
Yeah.
Asking that during your fact finding to make sure
Sure.
it's not just who are you seeing and who do you want to see, or any potential items that are coming up that we need to take into consideration.
Yeah. And the fact finder you're talking about, that's what Joshua, you prepared, like the paper version or whatever.
Yep.
That's not on Sunfire, and you can't really incorporate that into Sunfire, right? I'm just thinking of the questions you ask, and going through AHIP and certifications, they're kind of getting rigid about all the questions that you have to ask.
Right. And so when you're going through it, to do my job adequately, I have to ask you certain questions. There's other questions I'm not allowed to specifically ask you. Like, I can't ask you any health-related questions. However, what I can tell you is that I'm not allowed to ask those questions, but the more information that you just want to share with me, the better I'm going to be able to help evaluate your situation. Things like that. And yeah, you can plug in Sunfire. You plug in the doctors, you plug in the scripts. I mean, those are going to be your two biggest factorings until you get more familiar with the plan.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm curious, after doctors and scripts, what factors are you comparing after that?
Costs.
The benefits, right? Which is, they're also in Sunfire. So everything's in there. Once you put the doctors and drugs in, then you have to use your human deduction to decide, okay, do they travel a lot? Okay, then I might want to look at a PPO instead of an HMO, or I might want to look at a MedSup instead of Advantage. Do they wear dentures? Then they don't need dental. Do they have glasses or contacts? Yes or no? All those questions on the fact finder help you create tiebreakers, because our job is not to go, here are all the options, pick one. Our job is to go through all the options, use the information they gave us from the questions we asked, and reduce it down to one option. That's what an expert's going to do. Is it's going to typically it's going to be reduced down to one clear-cut option. The only exception to that is someone that takes no medications and doesn't care about what doctor they see. Then the playing field's completely even. It doesn't really matter. Pick one with the best benefits that you like, or whatever.
Yeah, those are the most difficult ones to go through.
Well, no, in my opinion, at that point, I say, here's the one that I like the best, and here's why. Give them your opinion. It's okay to give your opinion, but tell them it's your opinion. And they're really looking for that. They're looking for our professional opinion. They're not looking for us to do anything but that.
I mean, they're the most difficult ones because there's no clear-cut deciding factor.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Well, to me, there are. On the back end, there's definitely clear-cut deciding factors.
For them and benefits. Like if someone tells me, "Oh yeah, I'm taking Revlimid or some crazy drug," it's like cool. Like playing field just got simplified. Makes our job a lot easier to dial in. Like cool, you can pick these 3 options and you're gonna be okay. You pick the other 27 and it's gonna cost you an extra 10 grand. Like that pretty much eliminates that. It makes our life a lot easier to sort through.
100%. But in reality, it's a pretty easy choice either way. Because what I tell everybody is, don't worry, you can't pick wrong. And I work with all of them. So whatever one of these flavors you pick, it's fine. Because number one, it's not forever. Number two, I'm here to help make sure it works right. So the process to help them pick out a plan, technically they could do without us. A smart human being doesn't need an agent to pick a plan. What they need us for is to make sure it works, make sure they understand all the moving parts. Because after copay, deductible, and referral,
insurance,
there's not very deep knowledge past that for anybody outside the industry. And so our job is to give them, and most of them don't want it. Okay, let's be clear about that. Nobody wants to be a Medicare expert that's not in the industry. And so when you ask them that, like, are you looking to become a Medicare expert? Or are you looking to find one? Right? That's a very, very defining question of who you're dealing with. Because personally, if someone says, I want to become a Medicare expert, I tell them to get their license or go find someone else to help them. Because I don't want to try to make a normal consumer a Medicare expert. That sounds like a nightmare. And it sounds like a complaint waiting to happen. So ensure that you ask the questions that matter. And like, again, Stuart, telling them that, hey, look, this is my first time using this website. It's okay to say that. I've said that before, and it buys you the freedom to go through it. Hell, make it up and say, hey, they just redesigned this website, and this is my first time using it.
And legitimately, how many times have you gone through that, Joshua? I mean, 2 years in, 5 years in, 8 years in, 10, 12 years in. I've got a new system. I've got new tools. Just like when a carpenter gets a new drill, he's got to learn the different angles, how to hold it. It just works a little different. A plumber tied into a doctor. If they just redesigned your scalpel, you'd probably take a little longer to do surgery, right?
Remember that at one point, Stuart, we had this gizmo. These people came around and sold our boss on
the prescription reader.
Where you plug around
the
this
what?
big ass thing, you put it on their desk, and then the magic was it would spin the prescription bottle in this mirror camera thing, and it would read the bottle for you, and it would create a flat image scan of the bottle label. And it was this big gizmo thing that was all like moving parts and like fancy tech, but it was legit. It attracted people. It attracted people to the table. Like, it would be the slowest way. Like, I could literally handwrite left-handed a list of drugs faster than you could scan those things in, and I could run a drug list with blindfolded on Medicare.gov with a computer with no monitor. It'd be faster than that thing could scan a drug. But the point I'm making is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The consumer just needs to know that you're going to do the right thing, and you've been educated to the level now where you can do that. You can, even though you don't feel confident, even though you might not feel comfortable, you have the skills to do that. But I've got to run. We got to end this on time. You guys keep going. I got to jump off. So if you want to keep going, I'll let it keep rolling, but I got to jump on a call real quick. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Otherwise, I'll see y'all soon.
Where's the luncheon room? Never mind.
I have no idea.
No. He's doing an appreciation luncheon tomorrow, and I was going to meet him and pick up my cards.
Oh, gotcha.
But
Shoot him a text.
Text is definitely the best because
post it in chat and tag Aaron to make sure she remembers to give him the cards to bring with him. Otherwise, he won't bring them.
I'm definitely meeting him on Friday, so that's probably the best thing to do.
Well, there you go. That'll work too.
And then I can remind him first thing when we're on the 7:00 chat or 7:00 Zoom. Bring the cards with you. I'll see you at 8:30.
Stuart, back me up on this. Best thing to do is just have Aaron do it, right?
I guess that's true.
The surefire way to make sure Joshua does something.
I mean, heck, that's me with my wife. So.
Yep.
Anyway,
Stuart, where are you located?
Dripping Springs, Texas. It's a little town outside of, well, it's not little anymore. Outside of Austin.
No place in Texas is little anymore.
Yeah, I mean, people just keep moving here. I don't know. It's been brutal this summer, though. It's like I miss my seasons, but it's where we are for now.
I'm just waiting for the actual mound of the volcano to start showing up down there.
What do you mean by that?
It's been so dang hot down there.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, today is the first day in probably 60 days it hasn't been 100,
Yeah, Tyler, where are you?
I'm south of Buffalo.
Oh, you're south of Buffalo too. Oh, were you here in Colorado?
Yeah, no, I was born in Boulder, raised out there, and then moved out here like 2 years ago so I could be close to my dad to help him start getting some stuff taken care of. So
okay.
Kind of worked out. But yeah, no, it's been great because I'm watching everybody else like, oh, I'm dying in Texas. It's so hot. And then like my mother moved from Colorado out to South Carolina. She's like, this sucks. It's like 100% humidity, 100 degrees. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's terrible up here, like 78 to 84 every single day. It's awful.
I'm from the Philadelphia area, and I want to move back east. There's just too many people here. It's crazy.
Oh, Denver's gotten horrible.
It's gotten to the point, and I'm amazed, frankly, that the people are still coming in droves because it's very close to gridlock all day, all the time now.
Oh, yeah. I used to be able to get from Denver to the Springs in less than an hour, no problem.
Not anymore.
No, you can't get from one end to Denver the other. In Texas, same thing. The only thing that Texas has going for it is that y'all were smart enough as you were building to put the infrastructure in place for the roadways. Like the mix masters I've seen around Dallas and Austin are insane.
Yep.
Like 8 different highways all connecting.
Yeah, but Austin resisted it for 20 years, and it's like it's playing catch up. And the minute they build a new road, it's backed up. It's just
the trouble is the people got here in Denver much too fast.
Yeah,
I mean they there was no way they could have seen 20 years ago what was coming.
Well, it wasn't even 20 years ago. I mean, 40 years ago, when they had the first big surge of people that move out there back in the 80s, then you had it happen again in the mid 90s.
Yep.
And then as soon as they legalized weed, then it was like, forget about it.
Yeah, just the kind of people we need.
So, yeah, it's, one of those things where it was like just the amount of growth and lack of infrastructure. Like,
it's a bad combination.
Yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. So, but yeah, it is what it is, and you're going to run into that. So with those challenges when you're going through there doing your trainings and everything else, I mean, those type of things are one of the reasons why a lot of people, when you're meeting with your clients and you're willing to meet them face to face, whether it's having them come to you or go to them, and being, if you're relatively close and being willing to drive around town and go do those things, that's a huge thing.
Yep.
I mean,
I called a lead yesterday, and from the time she answered the phone until the time she hung up on me, after saying, first of all, I had bothered her. Second of all, it was illegal for agents to call beneficiaries. Third of all, she had her plan all in place, and then she hung up on me. And I thought, something, I don't need a person like that as a client, even though I know I could have saved you some money. It's kind of like, okay, whatever.
So what kind of lead were you working? Was it like something that was a digital, or was it a direct mail, or?
It was I got it from Lead Heroes. And the trouble is, Lead Heroes hires these people in the Philippines whose first language is not English.
Oh, so it was a phone lead.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's where it is. And you're going to run into those with everything else. I love it when I get those ones when it's a direct mail lead. That's one of the reasons why I love having the direct mail, because it's really hard to say, hey, look, you have this.
No, and I have a recording of her agreeing to accept a call, but I don't even know that that's legal for them to record a call without someone's knowledge. And
Colorado's a one-party state, so only one person on the call has to be aware that the call is being recorded in Colorado specifically. I don't know every state, but I know in Colorado it's a one-party state.
Okay, I didn't know that.
But yeah, so share it with them. But like you said, it's one of those things where that's probably someone that God took out of your life for a reason. You don't need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, she's 66. She's paying $180 a month for a med sup from Mutual of Omaha.
Oh, echo.
And she should be paying like 120. And it's kind of like, okay, whatever. Enjoy that.
Nope. And who knows? Maybe she can pass underwriting.
Right. All right, I got to jump because I got 10 things to do this morning. Then I got to beat it over to the rollout. And thank you for your help, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you on this. I'll probably see you on the call on Friday.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for the echo.
Heavy
I
echo.
need to visit with you, Tyler, a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we jump off and